The Immortal Mind by Egnor and Denyse O'Leary is a beautifully unsettling book in the best sense. It disturbs the shallow certainty that we are nothing but our brains and quietly reawakens the ancient conviction that we are spiritual beings created for more than this life. Drawing on decades of neurosurgical experience and a deep engagement with both modern neuroscience and classical philosophy, Egnor and O'Leary argue that the human mind cannot be explained by matter alone, because at the core of each person is an immaterial, immortal soul. The result is a narrative that feels both scientifically rigorous and spiritually hopeful, a rare combination in contemporary discussions about consciousness. One of the most striking features of the book is its relentless attention to real patients. Egnor walks us into the operating room and hospital ward where he has cared for thousands of people with damaged brains who nonetheless remain fully themselves, thinking, feeling, and relating in ways that cannot be neatly mapped onto a scan. Cases involving conjoined twins who share parts of their brains yet clearly have distinct intellects and wills, or patients in deep coma who still manage to communicate raise a hard question for materialism. If the brain were the whole story, how could a unified eye survive such severe disruption of the organ that supposedly produces it? Egnor's answer is that the brain is not the author of the self, but its instrument, and that within and beyond every injured brain is a living person whose spiritual soul transcends the body. From there, the authors take aim at the idea that Darwinian evolution can fully explain the human mind. They do not deny that bodies change over time, but they argue that blind mutation and natural selection acting on matter cannot account for our capacity to grasp abstract truths, live by moral law, and exercise genuine freedom. Concepts like numbers, logical principles, and moral duties are not physical objects you can weigh or dissect, yet our intellects perceive them and live by them. The book insists that such immaterial realities point to an immaterial source in us, the rational soul, which cannot be the product of purely physical processes. In this way, the immortal mind exposes the limits of Darwinian materialism and opens the door to a richer, more human picture of our origins. For readers of faith, one of the most significant contributions of this book is the way it naturally leads the discussion from the soul to God the Creator. While most chapters focus on showing that the soul is real, immaterial, and immortal, the authors eventually draw on the great tradition of thinkers like Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas to ask a deeper question. If there is a realm of immaterial truth, and if each human person bears an immortal spiritual soul, what is the ultimate source of this reality? In a chapter aptly titled, "And This All Men Call God," they explore classical arguments that see the order, intelligibility, and directedness of the world and of our own rational minds as pointing beyond nature to a divine mind who is not part of the created order but its cause. The book suggests that our ability to know truth, choose the good, and love sacrificially are reflections, however faint, of the image of this Creator stamped into our very being. Because the authors write as Christians, they do not treat God as an optional add onto an otherwise complete scientific picture, but as the necessary foundation that makes sense of both science and the soul. Egnor openly shares that he moved from atheism to theism in part because of what he saw in the operating room. Evidence that human beings are more than matter, and that the universe itself is not a closed box of physical causes, but a creation grounded in a first cause and a divine intelligence. The immortality of the soul, then, is not merely a curious side effect of how minds work. It is a sign that we come from God and are ultimately ordered back to Him. When the body dies, the book argues, the spiritual part of us that reasons and loves does not disintegrate because immaterial realities cannot fall apart the way matter does. Instead, the soul passes beyond the limits of this world into the fuller presence of the God who made it. The Immortal Mind offers much more than talking points in a debate about science and religion. It invites the reader to see his or her own life differently. Every act of understanding, every free choice, every moment of conscience becomes a quiet echo of the Creator's voice within the soul. In an age that often treats people as machines made of meat, this book is a bracing reminder that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, embodied yet not confined to our bodies, and that our deepest identity is rooted in a spiritual soul called into being and held in existence by God Himself. For anyone who senses that the human story cannot be told in neurons and molecules alone, this book is both an intellectual challenge and a profound encouragement.